If you clicked on this video, there's a good chance you already know what it feels like. The weight of your own thoughts. The exhaustion of a mind that never stops. Deep thinking isn't just a personality trait. It's a way of being in the world. And it comes with gifts that most people will never understand, and burdens that most people will never see. Let's start with what makes deep thinkers different. It's not intelligence, though many deep thinkers are smart. It's not education, though they often love learning. What sets them apart is something psychologists call high trait introspection. This is the natural pull toward examining your own thoughts, emotions, and experiences. It's like having a camera pointed at your own mind, constantly recording and analyzing. And for deep thinkers, that camera never stops rolling. This tendency lives in a part of the brain called the default mode network. This is the network that lights up when you're not focused on the outside world, when you're daydreaming, remembering the past, imagining the future, or thinking about yourself and others. For deep thinkers, this network is incredibly active. It runs like a computer with too many tabs open, each one processing something different, something meaningful. It's the source of their creativity, their imagination, their ability to connect ideas that seem unrelated. This is where they make unexpected connections between philosophy and physics, between music and mathematics, between personal experience and universal truth. But it's also the source of their exhaustion. Because while other people can turn it off and just exist, deep thinkers are always somewhere else, always processing, always wondering. Their mind is like an engine that won't stop running. Even when they're doing simple tasks like washing dishes or driving, their brain is working through problems, replaying conversations, building theories, questioning assumptions. This constant activity is both a blessing and a curse. It produces insights and ideas, but it also produces fatigue, the kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, because it's not physical, it's mental. It's the weight of carrying entire worlds inside your head. Deep thinkers are also masters of something called meta-cognition. That's just a fancy word for thinking about thinking. They don't just have thoughts, they watch themselves having thoughts. They analyze why they think the way they do. They question their own beliefs, their reactions, their patterns. It's like having a witness inside your mind, observing everything you do and asking why. Why did I react that way? Why do I believe this? Where did this pattern come from? Is this thought even mine? Or did I absorb it from somewhere else? This creates incredible self-awareness. They know themselves deeply. They understand their triggers, their biases, their fears. They can trace their reactions back to their origins. They see the machinery of their own mind at work. This makes them honest, brutally honest sometimes, because they can't hide from themselves. They see their flaws too clearly to pretend they don't exist. But here's the problem. The more you know about yourself, the more you doubt yourself, because you see every flaw, every contradiction, every moment where you didn't live up to your own standards. You see the gap between who you are and who you want to be, and that doubt becomes heavy. It whispers that you're not enough, that you should know better, that you should be further along. This self-awareness that everyone envies becomes a weight, because knowing yourself completely means you can't hide from your own judgment. There's a difference between overthinking and deep thinking, and it's important to understand it. Overthinking is about worry. It's replaying conversations in your head, imagining worst-case scenarios, stressing about things that haven't happened yet. Deep thinking is different. It's about understanding. It's asking why things are the way they are. It's exploring ideas, questioning reality, seeking truth. Overthinking traps you. Deep thinking expands you, but they often happen together because a mind trained to question everything will also question itself. And then there's existential thinking. This is where deep thinkers really stand apart. They don't just think about what to have for dinner or how to fix a problem at work. They think about life itself. Why are we here? What does it all mean? Is there a purpose to existence? Or are we just floating through space on a rock, making up stories to feel significant? What happens when we die? Is consciousness something special, or just electricity firing through meat? Are we truly free, or are we just following patterns we don't even see, programmed by genetics and experience? These aren't just late-night thoughts for deep thinkers. These questions follow them everywhere. In the middle of a work meeting, they might suddenly wonder if any of this matters in the grand scheme of things. Walking through a grocery store, they might think about how strange it is that we're all just animals pretending to be civilized. Lying in bed, they spiral into questions about the nature of reality itself. And while most people can distract themselves from these questions with Netflix or social media or staying busy, deep thinkers can't. They need to explore them. They need to wrestle with them, even when the answers never come, even when the questions lead to more questions. Because for them, living without asking these questions isn't really living. It's just existing. And they can't do that. They won't do that. This kind of thinking creates a unique kind of isolation. Deep thinkers often feel like they're watching life through a window, while everyone else is living inside the party. They see people reacting without thinking, accepting without questioning, moving through life on autopilot. Following the script society gave them without ever wondering who wrote it, getting excited about things that feel empty, arguing about things that don't matter, living on the surface when there's an entire ocean beneath. And they can't do that. They can't just go along with things. They need to understand. They need to know why. Why do we celebrate this? Why do we believe that? Why do we accept these rules without questioning them? Why does everyone seem content with answers that don't actually answer anything? And that makes them feel separate, different, alone, like they're speaking a language no one else understands. They're not judging people for living on the surface. They often wish they could join them there. It looks easier, it looks lighter, but they can't. Their mind won't let them. So they watch from the outside, understanding everyone but feeling understood by no one. Their silence is often misunderstood. When a deep thinker is quiet, people assume they're bored, uninterested, or stuck up. Some think they're depressed. Others think they're judging. But the truth is the opposite. They're deeply engaged. They're just processing on a level that doesn't require words. They're noticing things. The way someone's voice changed when they mentioned their family. The way the conversation shifted when a certain topic came up. The way everyone laughed at a joke that wasn't actually funny, just to fill the silence. The patterns beneath the surface. The things no one is saying but everyone is feeling. They're reading the room on multiple levels at once. The words, the tone, the body language, the energy. They're seeing connections between what was said 5 minutes ago and what's being said now. They're understanding the dynamics at play. Who has power? Who's uncomfortable? Who's performing? And when they do speak, it's because they have something meaningful to say, something that adds value, something that shifts the conversation somewhere deeper. But by then, the conversation has usually moved on. So they stay quiet, and and the world mistakes their depth for distance, their observation for disinterest, their thoughtfulness for coldness. They're not cold, they're just living in a different dimension than everyone else. A slower, deeper, richer dimension. Surface-level conversations drain them. Small talk feels like running on a treadmill. You're moving, but you're not going anywhere. And for deep thinkers, that's torture. They don't want to talk about the weather or what someone had for lunch. They want to talk about ideas, emotions, experiences that matter. They want to connect on a real level. But most people aren't interested in that kind of conversation. So deep thinkers learn to nod and smile and say the expected things. And inside, they're exhausted, because pretending to care about nothing takes more energy than caring deeply about something. Overthinking becomes a consequence of their nature. Because when you see nuance everywhere, your brain doesn't want to settle for simple answers. It wants to dig deeper. It wants to find the truth. And truth is rarely simple. Truth has layers, context, history, implications. So a deep thinker can spend hours analyzing a single interaction, not because they're insecure, but because they see layers. They see what was said and what wasn't said. They see body language, tone, context. They see the words beneath the words. Someone says they're fine, but their voice is tight. Someone agrees too quickly, which means they don't actually agree. Someone changes the subject, which means the previous subject made them uncomfortable. And their brain won't stop until it understands all of it, until it finds the pattern, until it makes sense. They're like detectives at a crime scene, but the crime scene is every human interaction they have. They collect evidence, they build theories, they test possibilities, and sometimes it never does make sense. The pattern doesn't appear, the truth stays hidden. But the search continues anyway, because stopping feels like giving up. And deep thinkers don't give up easily, especially not on understanding. Being present is a struggle because their mind doesn't live in one timeline. It lives in many. They're thinking about the past, analyzing what happened and why. What did that mean? Where did I go wrong? What could I have done differently? What did I learn? What pattern am I repeating? There, in the present, noticing everything around them. The quality of the light, the expression on your face, the feeling in the room, the details everyone else misses, and they're in the future, imagining 100 different versions of what might happen next. If I say this, they'll respond like that. If that happens, I'll need to do this. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes right? What are all the possibilities? What are the consequences? This isn't anxiety, though it can feel like it. It's just how their brain works. It's always running simulations, testing possibilities, preparing for outcomes. It's trying to be ready for anything. And while this makes them great planners and problem solvers, it also makes it hard to just be here, to enjoy the moment without thinking about what it means or what comes next. Someone tells a joke, and while everyone else is laughing, the deep thinker is thinking about the psychology of humor. Someone shares good news, and while everyone else is celebrating, the deep thinker is already considering what challenges might come with it. They're not trying to ruin the moment. Their brain just won't stop analyzing it. They also fall into a trap that comes from their gift of connection. Deep thinkers are incredible at linking ideas. They can see how one concept relates to another across completely different fields. They can connect emotions to experiences, patterns to behaviors, ideas to outcomes. This is the foundation of creativity and insight. But sometimes, this ability creates illusions. They connect things that aren't actually related. They find meaning where there might not be any. They see patterns that might just be coincidence. And because they're so good at building logical structures, these illusions can feel real. They create philosophical puzzles where none exist, and then they spend days trying to solve them. Rumination is another shadow that follows deep thinkers. This is when your mind gets stuck on a problem or a mistake and replays it over and over. It's not just thinking about it, it's obsessing over it, searching for resolution, for closure, for understanding. Why did that happen? What could I have done differently? What does this mean about me? And the cruel thing about rumination is that not every question has an answer. Not every problem has a solution. But the deep thinker's brain doesn't accept that. It keeps searching. It keeps digging. And that search can turn into suffering if they don't learn when to let go. But despite all this weight, deep thinkers need their solitude. It's not that they hate people. It's that solitude is their native language. It's where they recharge. It's where they process everything they've absorbed from the world. Because deep thinkers are like sponges. They soak up emotions, energy, information. And if they don't have time alone to wring themselves out, they become overwhelmed. Solitude isn't loneliness for them. It's restoration. It's clarity. It's the place where they can finally hear themselves think without the noise of the world drowning them out. When deep thinkers do connect with others, they're searching for something specific. Meaningful conversation. Not small talk, not gossip, not surface-level exchanges about what you did last weekend or what show you're watching. They want to talk about things that matter. They want to explore ideas together. They want to ask what keeps you up at night, what you believe about the nature of reality, what experiences shaped who you are. They want to understand you, really understand you, not just what you do for work or where you went on vacation. They want to know what makes you afraid, what gives you hope, what keeps you going when everything feels meaningless. They want to know your philosophy, your contradictions, your questions you can't answer. And when they find someone who can meet them at that level, the connection is powerful, electric, soul deep. Because deep thinkers don't do shallow relationships. They can't. It's not in their nature. They either connect completely or not at all. There's no in-between. No casual friendship that stays on the surface for years. No relationship that never goes deeper than sports and weather. They go all in, or they don't go at all. And this means they have fewer connections. But the connections they do have are profound. They're the kind of friendships where you can talk for hours and it feels like minutes. Where silence is comfortable. Where you can be completely yourself. Where depth isn't just accepted but celebrated. You'll notice something about the way deep thinkers speak. They pause before they answer. And that pause isn't hesitation. It's precision. They're choosing their words carefully because they understand something most people don't. Words matter. Language shapes reality. The way you describe something changes how you think about it. So when a deep thinker speaks, they're not just saying words. They're crafting meaning. They're building bridges between their internal world and yours. And that takes time. It takes thought. So when they finally speak, listen, because what they're saying is exactly what they mean. Deep thinkers also have a strange relationship with empathy. They feel it deeply, too deeply sometimes. Because their pattern recognition doesn't just work on ideas, it works on people. They notice micro-expressions, tiny shifts in energy, the things you're not saying. They're detectives of emotion. And this makes them incredibly empathetic. They can step into your perspective and see the world through your eyes. They can understand why you did what you did, even if it hurt them. They can feel your pain as if it were their own. And that's exhausting, because carrying your own emotions is hard enough. Carrying everyone else's is nearly impossible. This leads to a burden that deep thinkers carry quietly. They see multiple perspectives on everything. They understand that most people are doing the best they can with what they have. They know that hurt people hurt others. They see the context, the history, the pain behind the action. They understand that the person who snapped at them is probably dealing with something heavy, that the friend who cancelled plans is probably overwhelmed, that the person who hurt them is probably hurting too. And because of this, judgment becomes almost impossible. They can't just write someone off as bad. They can't simplify people into villains and heroes. They see the humanity in everyone, the complexity, the contradictions, the reasons behind the behavior. And while this makes them compassionate, it also makes them vulnerable. Because it's hard to protect yourself from people when you understand them so completely. It's hard to walk away when you can see why they did what they did. It's hard to set boundaries when you feel their pain as much as your own. They become emotional absorbers, taking in everyone's hurt, everyone's stress, everyone's problems. And they do it willingly because they care. But over time, it exhausts them. They forget that understanding someone doesn't mean you have to tolerate everything. That compassion for others has to include compassion for yourself. That seeing someone's humanity doesn't mean you have to let them hurt you. But they're careful about vulnerability. They don't open up easily because they've learned that most people can't handle their depth. Most people get uncomfortable when the conversation goes too deep, when emotions get too real, when questions get too big. So deep thinkers stay guarded. They share the surface level version of themselves. They keep the depth hidden until they find someone who shows signs of being able to handle it. Someone who asks real questions. Someone who isn't afraid of silence. Someone who meets their intensity with their own. And when they find that person, they open up all the way. They give you access to the whole ocean. And that's when you realize just how much they've been carrying alone. There's a concept in psychology called depth processing. This is when you encode experiences with rich meaning and emotional associations. Most people remember events as basic facts: where they were, what they did, who was there. Simple information, story highlights, the outline of experience. Deep thinkers remember events as entire ecosystems of feeling. They remember the light coming through the window and how it made them feel both peaceful and melancholic at the same time. The expression on your face when you said that thing you thought they didn't notice. The way the air felt, heavy with something unsaid. The emotion underneath the conversation, the real meaning beneath the words. The smell, the temperature, the quality of the silence before you spoke. They don't just remember moments, they relive them. They step back into the full experience with all its complexity. And this is beautiful because their memories are vivid and meaningful. They carry richness that most people's memories don't have. A single moment can contain layers of meaning that they unpack for years. But it's also painful because they can't forget. They can't just move on. They carry everything with them. Every moment becomes a world they can return to. Every conversation is archived in detail. Every hurt is remembered in full color. And some of those worlds are full of pain. Some of those memories they'd rather not relive. But their brain doesn't give them a choice. It stores everything at full depth. They also experience something called emotional complexity. This is the ability to feel multiple emotions at the same time. Most people feel one thing at a time. Happy, sad, angry, excited. But deep thinkers feel layers. They can be happy and sad at once, grateful and anxious, hopeful and afraid. They don't see emotions as simple signals. They see them as information. complex data about their internal state and their relationship to the world. And while this gives them incredible emotional intelligence, it also means their feelings are never simple. They're always navigating a storm of competing sensations, trying to make sense of what they actually feel. But here's where their strength shows up. Resilience. Deep thinkers are incredibly resilient, not because they avoid pain, but because they use it. They see suffering as information. It teaches them about themselves. It shows them where they're vulnerable, where they need to grow, what they value. They don't run from difficult emotions. They sit with them. They examine them. They ask what this pain is trying to tell them. And through that process, they transform suffering into wisdom. They don't just survive hard things. They learn from them. They become stronger, deeper, more compassionate. And that's a gift that comes from their willingness to feel everything fully. But there's a lesson every deep thinker needs to learn. And it's the hardest one. Learning when to stop thinking. Because not every question needs an answer. Not every problem needs to be solved. Not every pattern needs to be understood. Sometimes peace isn't found in answers. It's found in presence. In accepting that some things just are. In letting go of the need to know everything, understand everything, fix everything. And when a deep thinker learns this, something shifts. They find a kind of freedom. They can still think deeply, but they're not trapped by it. They can still explore ideas, but they're not consumed by them. They find balance. And that's when their mind becomes a gift instead of a burden. At their best, deep thinkers are bridges. They connect logic with empathy. They analyze pain while holding compassion. They ask hard questions while making space for mystery. They see complexity and find clarity. They feel everything and transform it into wisdom. They don't live on the surface because they know that nothing meaningful ever does. They dive deep, even when it's dark, even when it's scary, because they know that's where truth lives. That's where understanding lives. That's where real connection lives. Their value isn't in being easy to understand. It's in their depth, in their ability to see what others miss, in their willingness to ask questions that make people uncomfortable, in their refusal to accept simple answers to complex problems. They make the world richer just by being in it, because they remind us that life isn't meant to be lived on autopilot, that meaning isn't found in distractions, that connection requires courage, that understanding requires effort, that truth requires curiosity, and that curiosity is an act of love. Love for truth, love for understanding, love for the complexity of being human. Deep thinkers aren't trying to make life harder. They're trying to make it real. They're trying to live authentically in a world that often rewards pretending. They're trying to connect genuinely in a culture that celebrates the superficial. They're trying to think freely in a society that tells them what to believe. And that takes courage, more courage than most people realize. So if you're a deep thinker, know this: your mind isn't broken. Your intensity isn't a flaw. Your depth isn't a burden to be fixed. It's a gift, a rare and precious gift. Yes, it comes with challenges. Yes, it can be lonely. Yes, it can be exhausting. But it also gives you access to experiences most people never have, to insights most people never reach, to connections most people never make, to understanding that most people never achieve. Your purpose isn't to escape life. It's to enrich it fully, to see it fully, to feel it deeply, to understand it truly. The world needs people who think deeply, who question everything without fear, who refuse to settle for easy answers, who see beneath the surface of all things, who connect the dots others miss, who hold space for endless complexity, who transform pain into wisdom, who remind us that there's always more to explore, more to understand, more to feel, And that's exactly what you do, just by being who you are, just by thinking the way you think, just by seeing the world the way you see it. You make it better, you make it richer, you make it real, and that's the highest truth. Your depth is your gift to this world. Your questions are your strength and your courage. Your awareness is your power and your light. Don't dim it. Don't hide it. Don't apologize for it. The world needs your light, even when it comes from exploring the darkness, especially then. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know in the comments what being a deep thinker means to you. Thanks for watching.